What if I told you the greatest love story in the Bridgerton universe is the one we've barely seen? The story that shaped every romance, every heartbreak, every single choice, started long before the balls, the scandals, and the diamonds of the season. And now the first look at Violet and Edmund's story is finally here. And it's already breaking our hearts. The Bridgerton world is about to take us somewhere deeper, more emotional, and honestly, more dangerous than we expected. Because this isn't just another love story wrapped in pretty dresses and soft music. This is the beginning, the origin, the moment where everything we thought we knew about love in this universe gets rewritten. And the first look at the Violet and Edmund prequel? It's giving us just enough to feel everything, but not enough to recover from it. Right from the start, you can feel that this story is different. There's a softness to it, yes, but also this quiet intensity, like something big is always just around the corner. And that's what makes it so addictive already. We're not meeting the wise, composed Mama Bridgerton we all know. No, this is Violet before she became that woman. This is a younger version of her, still figuring out her place in a world that expects her to be perfect. And the way the trailer teases her personality? It's everything. She's observant, a little nervous, but there's this spark in her that feels so real. You can already tell she's the kind of girl who feels everything deeply, even if she doesn't always show it. And that right there sets the tone for the entire story. Because when someone like that falls in love, it's never simple. And then there's Edmund. The moment he appears, you just know. There's something about him that feels steady, warm, almost too perfect, but not in a boring way. It's in the way he carries himself, the way he looks at Violet like he already understands her, even before a single word is spoken. The trailer doesn't give us a full picture of him yet, but it doesn't have to. That one glance, that one moment, it's enough to tell you this is the kind of love that changes everything. The kind that feels safe, until it doesn't. What really stands out in this first look is how natural everything feels. There's no forced drama, no over-the-top tension. Just these small, meaningful moments that slowly build into something bigger. A look across the room. Pause in conversation. The kind of silence that says more than words ever could. And somehow that makes it even more intense. Because you know where this story is going. You know how it ends. And that makes every single moment between them feel heavier, more important. Almost like time is running out, even when it's just beginning. But here's where it gets really interesting. The trailer hints that their love story isn't just about romance. There's pressure, expectations, the weight of society constantly watching, judging, deciding what's acceptable and what's not. And you can already feel that Violet is going to struggle with that. She's not just falling in love. She's learning what it means to choose love in a world that doesn't always make that easy. And Edmund? He might be the one thing that makes her brave enough to take that risk. And let's talk about the emotional tone for a second, because this is where the prequel is really setting itself apart. There's this underlying feeling of nostalgia, but also this quiet sadness that never fully goes away. Even in the happiest moments, there's a sense that something is coming, something unavoidable. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because we're not just watching a love story unfold. We're watching it with the knowledge that it won't last forever. And somehow that makes it even more beautiful. The first look doesn't reveal everything, but it doesn't need to. It gives us just enough to feel connected. Just enough to start imagining all the moments we haven't seen yet. The first conversation. The first time they realize this isn't just a passing feeling. The moment everything changes. And if this is just the beginning, then we are not ready for what's coming next. Now let's get into the part that has everyone spiraling, because the more you look at this first look, the more you realize this isn't just a sweet love story. It's a setup for something much deeper, something that's going to hit way harder than we expect. The trailer is quietly building this emotional tension. And if you pay close attention, you can already see the layers forming. Violet and Edmund aren't just falling in love. They're stepping into a world that is constantly trying to shape them, control them, and honestly test them. And that's where things start to get really interesting. Because unlike the fast-paced, scandal-filled romances we're used to, this one feels slower, more intentional. Like every single moment matters. And that's exactly why it's going to hurt more. One thing that stands out immediately is how their connection doesn't feel rushed at all. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic declarations right away. It's about those small, quiet moments that slowly pull them closer together. The kind of connection where they don't even realize what's happening until it's already too late. And that's the magic of it. You can feel that they're both trying to stay composed, trying to follow the rules, trying to be who society expects them to be. But at the same time, there's this undeniable pull between them that keeps breaking through. And the trailer leans into that tension so perfectly. It's subtle, but it's there in every look, every pause, every almost confession that never fully happens. But here's the thing, it's not just about them. The world around them is just as important, and the first look makes that very clear. There are expectations placed on Violet from the very beginning. The pressure to marry well, to behave a certain way, to fit into a mold that doesn't leave much room for real emotion. And you can already tell she's going to struggle with that. Because Violet isn't the kind of person who can just switch off her feelings. She feels deeply, and once Edmund becomes part of that, there's no going back. That's where the conflict starts to build. Not in loud arguments or dramatic confrontations, but in quiet moments of doubt, hesitation, and fear of making the wrong choice. And Edmund? He's not just some perfect love interest who shows up and makes everything easy. There's something more going on with him too. The trailer hints at a sense of responsibility, maybe even pressure from his own family or status. He carries himself like someone who knows what's expected of him. But at the same time, there are moments where you can see that he wants something more. Something real. And that's where Violet comes in. She challenges that. She makes him question things. And that dynamic right there, that's what's going to make their story so compelling to watch. Now let's talk about the chemistry, because this is where things really start to feel intense. It's not loud or overly dramatic. It's quiet, almost fragile, but at the same time it's undeniable. The kind of chemistry where you don't need big moments to feel it. It's in the way they look at each other. Like they're both trying to understand something they've never felt before. And that's what makes it so addictive. You're not just watching two people fall in love. You're watching them discover what love even is in the first place. And that journey, that's where all the emotion comes from. But here's where the trailer gets a little dangerous, because it starts planting the idea that this love story isn't going to be as simple as we want it to be. There are hints, small ones, but they're there. Moments where things feel just slightly off. Like something is coming that's going to change everything. And if you know anything about how this story ends, you already feel that weight. You already know that no matter how perfect these moments seem, they're leading to something heartbreaking. And that knowledge changes how you see everything. The pacing of the trailer also plays a huge role here. It doesn't rush. It lets moments breathe. It gives you time to feel connected, to get invested. And then it pulls back just enough to leave you wanting more. And that's exactly what makes it so effective. Because by the time it ends, you're not just curious, you're emotionally involved. You're already thinking about what's going to happen next, how their story is going to unfold, and honestly, how much it's going to hurt when it does. And maybe the most powerful part of all of this is the fact that we already know who Violet becomes. We've seen her strength, her wisdom, her ability to guide her children through their own love stories. But now we're seeing where that comes from. We're seeing the beginning of it all. And that adds a whole new layer to everything. Because suddenly, this isn't just about watching a new story. It's about understanding the foundation of everything we've already loved. And that makes every moment between Violet and Edmund feel even more important, even more emotional, and honestly, even more unforgettable. And just when you think you understand the direction of this story, the first look starts dropping subtle hints that there's so much more happening beneath the surface. Because this isn't just about two people falling in love, it's about the world around them shifting in ways they don't even fully realize yet. The deeper you look, the more you start to see that their story is going to be surrounded by other players, other families, and honestly, a level of chaos that could either bring them closer together or completely tear them apart. And if this prequel really leans into that, then we're not just getting romance, we're getting drama on a whole different level. Let's talk about the social circle for a second, because you already know this is where things can get messy. The Bridgerton world has never been just about one couple. It's always been about the people around them, the whispers, the expectations, the pressure from every direction. And this time, it feels like we're stepping into the early versions of characters who will eventually become absolute icons. The trailer teases just enough to make you wonder, what were these people like before everything we know? Before the reputations, before the scandals, before the masks they wear as adults. And that curiosity alone is enough to keep you hooked. Because imagine this for a second, a young Portia Featherington before she became the calculating, always 10 steps ahead queen of survival. Was she always like that? Or did something happen that forced her to become that person? The prequel has the perfect opportunity to explore that, and if they do it right, it could completely change how we see her in the main series. And then there's Mary Sharma, the woman who chose love over status and caused one of the biggest scandals of her time. Seeing her story unfold alongside Violet's? That's the kind of parallel storytelling that could add so much depth to the entire universe. And let's not forget the friendships, or maybe even rivalries, that could form during this time. Because if there's one thing we know about this world, it's that not everyone is rooting for a fairy tale ending. There are always going to be people watching, judging, waiting for someone to slip. And Violet, being who she is, might find herself right in the middle of that. She's not the loudest or the most rebellious, but that doesn't mean she won't attract attention. In fact, it might make her even more vulnerable. Because sometimes it's the quiet ones who end up facing the most pressure. Now here's where things get really interesting. The idea that this prequel could show us the moment where everything starts to connect. The traditions, the values, the way the Bridgerton family approaches love. It all had to start somewhere. And the trailer gives off this feeling that we're about to witness those foundations being built in real time. The way Violet sees love, the way she learns to trust it, to fight for it. All of that is going to shape not just her future, but the future of her entire family. And when you think about it like that, every small moment suddenly feels so much bigger. But at the same time, there's this constant sense of unpredictability. Because even though we know the outcome of Violet and Edmund's story, we don't know everything that led up to it. We don't know the struggles, the doubts, the moments where things almost didn't work out. And that's where the suspense comes in. Because the prequel has the chance to fill in those gaps. And maybe even surprise us along the way. Maybe things weren't as perfect as we've been led to believe. Maybe there were obstacles we've never even considered. And then there's the emotional layering, which honestly feels like it's going to hit harder with every episode. The first look already hints at moments that feel soft and warm, but also moments that feel tense, uncertain, almost like something is about to go wrong. And that balance is what makes it so compelling. You're constantly shifting between feeling comforted by their connection and bracing yourself for what might come next. And that kind of emotional push and pull? That's exactly what keeps an audience invested. The more you think about it, the more it feels like this prequel isn't just expanding the Bridgerton universe. It's redefining it. It's taking everything we thought we understood about these characters and giving it new meaning. And that's a big risk. But if the first look is anything to go by, it's a risk that could absolutely pay off. Because by the time this story fully unfolds, we're not just going to see Violet as the strong, loving mother we already know. We're going to see the journey that made her that person. And honestly, that's the kind of storytelling that stays with you long after it's over. But now, let's get into the part that could completely change how we see this story forever. Because the first look isn't just building romance and drama. It's quietly setting up something much deeper, something symbolic, something that feels almost like destiny. And if you've been paying attention, you already know what I'm about to say. The hints are there, hidden in plain sight. This prequel might not just tell us how Violet and Edmund fell in love. It might show us why their story was always meant to happen, and why it was never meant to last. There's this recurring feeling throughout the trailer that nothing here is random. Every glance, every moment, every small interaction feels intentional, like it's leading to something bigger. And that's where the idea of symbolism really starts to come in. Because in the Bridgerton world, we've seen how certain details carry meaning across seasons. And this prequel looks like it's about to take that to a whole new level. It's not just about what's happening on the surface. It's about what it represents. And once you start thinking like that, everything hits differently. Take the emotional tone, for example. There's a softness to their connection, but it's layered with this quiet sense of inevitability. Like no matter how perfect things feel in the moment, there's something in the background reminding you that it won't stay that way forever. And that's where the real emotional damage is going to come from. Because the show isn't just going to tell us that their love was beautiful. It's going to make us feel it deeply, so that when things start to shift, it hits 10 times harder. And let's talk about the possibility that their first meeting, or some early moment between them, could carry a meaning we don't fully understand yet.